Toastmaster. Has anyone here ever run a marathon? A full marathon is 26.2 miles. Can you imagine running that?
No.
What about running 544 miles? Every year, Australia holds an 875K endurance race. That's 544 miles. It's from Sydney to Melbourne, and it's considered the world's longest and toughest ultramarathon. The race takes 5 days. The only people that run in this race are world-class athletes who have trained specifically for it. Most of these athletes are under 30 years old. They're all backed by big names like Nike and Adidas, and they're all equipped with the best running outfits and the best running shoes. In 1983, a guy named Cliff Young showed up at this race. When he went up to the table to take his number, people started exchanging really puzzled looks. Cliff Young had overalls on. He had galoshes on over his work boots. He had no teeth, and he was 61 years old. People started looking around and saying, is this some kind of joke? The press became curious, and a couple of reporters approached Cliff to ask him some questions. One reporter said, "Who are you, and what are you doing?" Cliff said, "I'm Cliff Young. Nice to meet you. I'm from a large farm just outside of Melbourne." The reporter said, "Are you really going to run in this race?" Cliff said, "Yup." The other reporter asked, "Do you have any backers or trainers?" Cliff said, "Nope." And then he said, "You see, I grew up on a farm where we couldn't afford horses or four-wheel drives, so whenever the storms would roll in, I'd have to go out and round up the sheep. Well, we had 2,000 sheep on 2,000 acres. Sometimes I'd have to run those sheep for 3 days straight. It took a while, but I'd catch them. So this race is 5 days. That's only 2 more days than what I've run sheep for." The reporters just looked at each other in disbelief and shook their heads. When the race started, the people watching Cliff just smiled. He didn't even run correctly. Instead of running, he appeared to sort of shuffle, almost leisurely, not like a runner at all, more like an amateur. As people from all over Australia watched the race on TV, many of them hoped that somebody would stop this crazy old man from running, because from the looks of him and the funny way that he ran, people were afraid for him. People were afraid that he would die before even getting out of Sydney. Now, all of the professional athletes knew that this race took 5 days to finish. In order to be competitive, you needed to run 18 hours a day and sleep only 6 hours a night. But Cliff Young did not know this. When the morning news the next day aired coverage of the race, the people of Australia could not believe what they were seeing. Although he was far behind the professional athletes, Cliff Young was still in the race. He had actually jogged all night. He hadn't slept. When he reached the next town, the press pulled alongside of him and they said, "Cliff, what are your tactics for the rest of the race?" And Cliff said,
"I'm gonna keep running until I reach the finish line."
And he kept running. No sleeping, just running. Every night, he got a little bit closer to the leading pack of runners. By the last night, he passed all of the world-class athletes. And by the last day, he was still in front of them. At the finish line, the spectators could not believe what they were seeing, because there, coming down the stretch, in first place was Cliff Young. Cliff Young won first place. And not only did he win first place, he broke the race record by 9 hours. When he was interviewed after the race, he told the reporters that while he was running, he imagined that he was chasing sheep and trying to outrun a storm. The people of Australia fell in love with this 61-year-old farmer who came out of nowhere and defeated the world's best long-distance runners. He did what everyone considered impossible to do. Just a few years ago, in 2003, at the age of 81, Cliff Young passed away. But his legacy lives on. That shuffling way that he ran is now called the Young Shuffle. The Young Shuffle. And it's actually used by some ultramarathon runners because it's considered more aerodynamic and it expends less energy. As a matter of fact, at least 3 winners of that Sydney to Melbourne race have been known to use the Young Shuffle to win the race. Now for this race, almost no one sleeps. Because to win this race, you have to run like Cliff Young did. Madam Toastmaster.
Bravo!